I have some really super exciting news. Before we get to the show, my good friend Corey Damon Jenkins, and one of your all-time favorites from the podcast, has a brand new coffee table book out. Yes, he does. It's in pre-sale right now. It is called Design Reimagined, a fresh and colorful take on timeless rooms. And you know Corey, he delivers. This book is packed with 10 jaw-dropping projects never before seen, not shared on his social, not shared on his Instagram, not shared on his website, and it includes real practical design tips. It's bold, it's vibrant, it's everything we already love about Corey. So here's the deal. It is in pre-order right now, okay? Trust me, you want to get your pre-order copy all set up so that when they are out for delivery in September, you don't have to wait 1 minute longer. Go to RizzoliUSA.com. That's RizzoliUSA.com, and go to the Future Publications tab to put your order in so that you are one of the first people in September to get this book when it comes out. Welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Today we're talking about one of my favorite topics, sales. Now, I know it is not necessarily your favorite subject, okay? But the thing is, if that's the case, it's probably even more important for you to listen to today's episode. I realize you didn't get into business because you wanted to be a salesperson, but the truth is selling is an integral part of running a business. And the more expensive your product or service is, the more vital it is to learn how to sell effectively. My guest today is Tracee Murphy, and she has a unique insight into what it takes to sell as an interior designer. She was originally a psychologist and transitioned into design as her second career. She now also coaches designers on the psychology of luxury sales. If you're a longtime listener, you know all the way back from the Erica Ward episode about transferable skills. And this transferable skill is extremely helpful, and that is understanding people, understanding motivations, and knowing how to listen and talk to people in the right way. Tracee has some fantastic insights on how shifting our mindset and refining our approach can make all the difference. We're going to talk about why every one of you can benefit from understanding luxury sales principles, how to truly listen to uncover what clients want and need, and how to navigate those budget conversations with confidence. Before we talk to Tracee, though, let's take a minute to thank our show sponsor, Design Trade Service. Let's be real. Sourcing, ordering, tracking shipments, it's a darn full-time job on its own, isn't it? Managing multiple vendor accounts, chasing updates, dealing with back orders and freight issues. It's exhausting and it steals time from doing what you do best, design. That's why Design Trade Service exists. They handle the hassle for you. One account, one order, one point of contact. Access hundreds of top brands with exclusive designer net pricing. No membership fees, no headaches. They consolidate orders, track shipments, and keep you updated so you don't have to chase the information. Take back your time. Open your free account today at designtradeservice.com/LuAnn and let DTS do the heavy lifting so you can focus on design. All right, now let's talk about the psychology of selling luxury with Tracee Murphy. Hey, Tracee, thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, LuAnn. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, this is a little overdue. I feel like I say that a lot lately. The schedule is a little crazy pants, but I'm glad that we're finally getting to this. And it's funny. I know we both share this philosophy. You just said it to me. Is that everything happens when it's supposed to happen. So here we are. I think it's a year later. A couple of false starts, up and down, and trying to get scheduled and tech problems and grandchildren problems on my part.
Life happens when you least expect it to,
That,
but
that's it.
puts us on the path we're supposed to be on, that's for
Ex
sure.
Somebody said it to me recently. It's not a new saying, but somebody just said it to me the other day. Life has been lifing a lot lately.
I love it. It's very true.
Right, right. So,
Exactly.
but I'm happy that we're finally here because the psychology of selling, I mean, this is my wheelhouse. I love sales. I've been studying and watching and reading
And
it and practicing it since I'm
er,
10 years old. I love that you bring it in. You have a course that you teach the psychology of selling, and we'll get to later in the show all the different things and resources that you have for interior designers. But tell me about this. What does it mean to you, the psychology of selling, and where's your
mm.
point of view on this, Trace?
Yeah, exactly. So, selling, obviously, you're like the best salesperson out there, right, LuAnn? I mean, you know it better than anybody else, but it doesn't come easily for everyone. And I would say, especially for designers, we get into design thinking we're creators and we're not necessarily thinking of ourselves as salespeople. But the bottom line is, that's pretty much a huge part of what we do, right? We're selling ourselves, our businesses, our services, our products, our designs, you name it, we're selling it. So, understanding kind of some tips and tricks behind how and why our sales can be successful will really help those a little bit uncomfortable in the sales role. But I always like to start with luxury because selling luxury is a little bit different. And when I ask people, like in a room full of designers, how many people are selling in the luxury market? I will actually only get a small handful of people raising their hands and saying that. And it shocks me because inherently, interior design is a luxury business. So we are all selling luxury.
Right.
And to me, it just indicates a general problem with the view of designers in the world. Is like if we're not all viewing ourselves as being in the luxury market and selling a luxury service, we need to start there. We need to start with educating ourselves and consumers about what interior design means. So, really understanding that thought process is a great start.
So I love this so much. You cannot know how much I love this. First of all, the observation that we've both encountered in our travels and talking with designers that and I think it's less. Like when I started podcasting 9 years ago, it was very common for somebody to push me back and go, "Oh, I'm not a salesperson. I'm not selling anything." And I'd be like, "I'm sorry, sweetie. If you take a check from somebody, you are selling something." Like literally the definition of a sale is I have a product or service and you buy it. That's a sale, right?
Correct.
But I do have to say, I think over the last 9.5 years, less designers bristle at the fact that they are salespeople, but it's still out there. So I
Sure.
love that you're beating the path down that, yeah, wake up, understand this is a thing. You can do it with class and finesse and respect and all the things. We don't have to hawk it on the corner like a used car salesman, but you're selling.
Exactly.
And then the other observation that I want to just mention that you made is this, where you ask and the hands don't go up because they don't believe that they're in the luxury sales industry, right? And you're
Yeah.
right. Literally, interior design, while we know because we're in the industry that it's necessary and it enhances well-being and it enhances
Hmm.
health and enhances just everything about our lives, even just like happiness of looking the way when a room is done well. But it is not necessary for life survival. Like it's not
Exactly.
water or air or shelter. So by default, it is luxury.
Hmm.
And I think what happens is, I think when you tell me your hindsight on it, but if you're in a room of 10 or 50 interior designers and only 10% raise their hand to the question luxury. I think those designers are coming to it with what they believe is their informed opinion that luxury is like, well, that's what Corey Damon Jenkins does, right?
Hmm.
Luxury is what, I don't know who else does.
It's a
Nobody else is
price
saying it.
tag. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas to your point, I love that you're beating the drum that I don't care if you have $85 an hour is your hourly rate and your consult is 120, you are selling luxury, right? There's grades. And that's where the word luxury has gotten kind of bastardized. It doesn't almost mean anything anymore. It's like expensive. It means nothing, right?
Exactly. And that is, I think, a really valid point in what we're trying to discuss specifically with this course is what is luxury? And like, let's truly understand what that definition is. Because to your point, it is something desirable, but we don't need it. Like,
Right.
we don't need a private jet, but wow, that sure is nice. And, we don't necessarily need to hire a designer, but it does create so many benefits, in life and in your home and in your workplace. And it does make a lot of sense, but it truly is a luxury service and product. So I hope that we can all spread the message and be really clear that that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are selling luxury.
It's funny because I've mentioned it now a couple of times in the last few months about an interaction that I had on Instagram with on an Instagram feed. I think it's called the Trading Secrets podcast. I don't know. I don't keep this stuff in my head, but the guy is apparently like this big famous TV guy. I don't know if he was on The Bachelor. I don't know. I don't keep any of that in my head because I don't watch any of the reality TV, right? But I didn't know who he was, and apparently, and the other woman that he was speaking to on the Instagram reel turned out to be a housewife of New Jersey or New York. Also didn't know who she was. Like,
Okay.
but and then of course all the young people that work for me were like, "Oh my God, that was that person and that was that person." I'm like, well, both of them were out of their minds. So I'm just going to
Yeah.
say, I don't care who they were. But he asked her, what her design fees are and like why does she charge design fees or whatever and whatever. But the thing of the point was that their interaction went back and forth, and then just a regular consumer human in the feed. I happened to look at the feed, and literally the first comment I see is, I did a podcast episode on this, by the way, was, "Oh, good Lord, with all the resources on the internet at these days, why does anybody even need these people?" Meaning interior
Oh,
designers.
wow.
Oh, Trace, you
Yes.
want to talk about Mama Bear coming out now? Like, I'm normally like, all of you do you, and I
Right.
didn't raise you. I don't have to school you. I'm not put on the earth to change some random stranger's opinion, right? But I was like, no, no, no. And so I went all back and forth. We'll link that episode in the show notes, the things I said, but it was literally like, no, no, no. If you want a sofa, you're right. Go search
Yes.
the internet for a sofa, but please
Yes.
don't confuse what an interior designer does with
Oh my
being an
gosh.
assistant that personal shops for you. Stop right now.
Exactly. Yes. And that is so important for us to truly
Yeah.
grasp, understand, teach our clients, teach our young designers, to make sure that everybody is clear on what our role is and what we're doing. We are not personal shoppers. We create beautiful, healthy, safe interiors and, we elevate the lifestyle all around. So, really understanding that we are selling luxury at every level, doesn't matter what the price tag is. If someone is looking for a designer, they are looking for a luxury service.
Mm-hmm.
And luxury can be defined very differently for many people's and many designers, many firms can be
Right.
set up differently. But inherently, it's a luxury service.
Yeah. I mean, like, just to hone on at the final point, like, you could be a regular, newly, hatched adult, right? Out in the world, you know,
Newly
25
hatched.
years old, your first apartment or your first home, maybe, you're have a spouse or a partner or whatever. And you could be like, you know what? Like, whether it's between your parents, it's between your savings, you could be like, you could work a part-time job for 6 months because you're just like, it's really important to me. I want our bedroom to be designed beautifully, or I want our nursery to be designed beautifully. And the thing is, in your regular life, you could make no money. Like, you could be really hand to mouth, right? Like, and just getting by.
Sure.
But you could, it's like, it's a gift that you maybe, like I said, cobble together with other people. And the final room might be a $1,000 design fee and a $5,000 design, furniture budget. But for that woman and that person, that is a luxury experience because she didn't just walk in and out of the stores and figure it out herself, all the way to the person that's going to build a $25 million, 30,000 square foot home and fly you as a designer back and forth on the private jet to do the things, right? Like,
Exactly. It's extremely relatable. And at the end of the day, those are the same things. We have
yes.
different budgets and different business models, but it's the same thing.
Yes, that's the core. And I love that message that you're
That's the
beating, Trace,
core.
because that really is so true. So
Yeah,
now establishing, because, like I said, it's like expensive. The word expensive doesn't mean anything.
right.
$100 is expensive to somebody else, and 20 grand is expensive to a different person, right? So understanding that what you deliver as an interior designer is luxury regardless at the level and the lane that you swim in. Having
Yes.
established that, so what do we need to know in order to be successful in the selling luxury design, Trace?
Yes. So the psychology of selling luxury is the study of how people think, feel, and behave. That's psychology in general, right? So, and that in and of itself is, a very generic, broad statement because figuring out how somebody thinks, feels, and behaves, well, good luck to all of us. And there isn't like a roadmap for one person because every person is different. We come to our clients not really knowing their life experiences, what happened to them before, what their views on money are, what their view on luxury is. Um, so figuring out from client to client what that is challenging.
Mm,
But what we're doing with the psychology of selling luxury is giving some tools to help designers walk through some steps to help them in that process,
mm,
to helping to figure out how do we kind of start to investigate how people think, feel, and behave in order to sell our services, in order to sell our products. So we're really just kind of giving some behind the scenes look at some psychological tools and insights to help the designers put in their little tool chest and pull out when they're in sales mode and help to figure out who these people are that they're working with.
okay. Okay. And I love that because I don't know it for a fact, but my brain goes to the idea that you can't make assumptions, right? Like, somebody could
No.
pull up in a Maserati and think that that's the most valuable thing for them to invest their money in. And then that could be the same person that can't understand that your design fee is 20K, right?
Yes.
Okay, so talk to us about these tools and ideas and strategies that you help designers to ascertain what somebody is thinking, feeling, and how they're going to behave, right?
Yes. So, and kind of circling back to what is luxury. This is like for me, step one is figuring out what is luxury to your client.
Hmm.
It's super subjective and you really need to ask a lot of questions. You need to really, this is like getting to know somebody in any relationship. The more you talk to them, the more you know about them and who they are and where they come from. But figuring out, is it internal or external for them? Is it, like you said to the Maserati point, are they into labels and brands? Do they really identify with designer things, or are they, you know, very low key in their ripped jeans and t-shirt driving a 20-year-old car?
Mm,
Um, those people can have the same exact bank accounts. They
right,
just present very differently and they desire very different things. So, internal luxury can be more about peace of mind and financial security and being in nature, things like that. Where external is like, give me the watches, the bags, the shoes, the cars, the big house. So,
right,
some of that's a little easier to see because visually, when you meet your clients, you get an idea right away of who they are and, you know, that
right.
that kind of thing. Um, but diving in a little bit deeper to that in asking questions and lifestyle questionnaires. I know a lot of designers use these. They're very helpful. Asking what brands they align with, talking about ideal and dream vacations. That's always a favorite of
Mm,
mine, because figuring out like how people want to spend their downtime and their
mm,
family time, to me, speaks a lot about the life that they want to relax in.
mm,
So we always take a lot of good information from that, specifically hotels, resorts, restaurants, things where they go to
mm,
decompress.
mm-hmm,
Um, and also, I mean, money talk's a big one, so we should dive into that. But also, I think just straight out asking people, what is your definition of luxury?
mm,
Because you can always ask people 25 questions and you get these answers, but it still might not be really clear. You
right.
might have some like, well, okay, they don't like brands, but they like this really nice hotel. And, there
Mm,
might be some conflicting things. So just saying, like, what do you consider luxurious? Like, if you were going to randomly spend $10,000, what would you do with it?
mm,
Or just asking them a very open-ended question about their feelings about luxury will help
mm.
you get some information about that.
Yeah. It's interesting because just like every interview I do, I'm processing it like a garden variety human. I'm like, well, what if
Yeah.
she was asking me these questions? Right. I'm like, how about what I think? And, it's funny because these are good. Like, I like the idea of, and I don't want a designer to go past some of these, what might feel like simple, basic questions,
Right.
but they are like when you said, like, what brands do they align with?
Hmm.
I have to tell you, I am a person who doesn't recognize brands. Like, I don't know. Like, I remember I was somewhere. I can't recall where I was. I was at no, I was at Las Vegas Market, and I was with a designer, and we were having a conversation, and we were together admiring another person who we didn't know across the room, and not in a catty way. I promise you, not in a catty way. Seriously, like we were just like, oh, I think she was a speaker. I don't know what it was, but for some
Hmm.
reason we were having a conversation, and it's like, yeah, really seems to be on the ball and this and that and the other thing. And then the designer friend was like, and really elegantly put together. And of course, I can see that the person is elegantly put together. And
Hmm.
and the designer said, friend, said, like, I mean, we've got Prada shoes working, we've got XY this working. And I was just like, wait, you can tell all that from over here? you know, like, I have no radar for that, like literally no radar. And so that's an interesting thing that,
Hmm.
like, that would give you that indicator that that's like external is a validator for that
Sure.
person, right? It's not a bad thing. It's just, it's like you're doing is teaching us, look for the breadcrumbs, look for the different
Right.
things that, help you. And if you ask somebody what their favorite brands are, somebody like that is going to say Dior, Prada, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to go, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
And some
You mean
people do
Best Buy?
that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, in my design business, some people do that on our questionnaires. They will say, I don't know, I'll go to Costco and get a sweatshirt. I don't care.
Wearing one now, girl. Wearing
Yeah,
one now.
okay,
Like,
there you
yeah.
go.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing. But to your point, don't, don't finish there. Don't finish figuring me out there because you'll make a big mistake.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, there's more there. And all of these are the little breadcrumbs that kind of lead you down the path, and being able to speak to the person and use their language
Yeah.
and use references that they can relate to during the
Yeah.
sales process.
The other thing I love about that is because, when you do continue the Q&A, like, if I use myself as a guinea pig, it's now when you come to hotels, I'm not like going to say I'm a Ritz Carlton, but I'm not going to look at Holiday Inn. I'm not going to look at La Quinta. I'm just like, I'm not. They could be amazing. It could be renovated
Right.
yesterday. And I'm just like, nope, you got to get me to a Marriott certain level and above, right? And I don't care
Sure.
if it's one night. And there's nothing about that. It's not the bathrobes, the chocolates, the turn downs. I'm not that level. I don't need that level. But
Hmm.
there just is like, I'm sorry, I'm putting my head down in this place. We are not compromising here, right?
Right.
Whereas,
Exactly.
by the way, the reason why I know I don't want to go to those, I'm a regular human, had to dig myself up and earn my living. There were times 30 years ago, Vin and I'd be like, okay, we're going to the Holiday Inn. All
Well,
right, this
yeah.
is great.
And that
Right?
is an important point, because depending on where your clients are in their life and in their and on their path will depend on what, are they people that this is their dream home, but they're in their 30s. So
Right.
likely not really their dream home. They think it is, but it's not because they
Right.
just don't know yet. They may have been very lucky very early and they're successful, but they have a lot of growth to do. I mean, I know because I'm way older than that. So, you know, when I get younger clients that kind of talk to me about their dream home and where they are, I can help them kind of look ahead a little bit,
Yeah.
into kind of how things might change and evolve and grow. Or, just really helps me to understand that this is not a forever home,
Yeah.
that this is likely a stepping stone. But again, it's really understanding their lifestyle is a key to selling successfully, like understanding their language, how they look at things, how they purchase, where they look on the spectrum to purchase. If they're always looking designer, they're always looking at the high price tags.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good information.
That's right. Well, and it's interesting too, because I think the lesson in here that I'm sure that you teach in the course is it's one thing to have the list of questions. It's another thing if you don't listen to the answers, right? Like if
Yes.
you are asking me these questions and then you start talking to me about Baccarat lights and blah, blah, whatever, I'm going to be like, I'm not even, and the thing about it, and the point I want to make is if you've done an in depth interview with me and you find out like there's certain things that I'm going to spend on, there's very few, the rest are going to be like, hey, good enough or whatever. But then you think you heard me and you start to bring out super, super crazy luxury things, I
Hmm.
am going to disconnect from you. I'm
Sure.
not, even as the consumer, I'm not likely to have the words that are like, I'm experiencing you didn't listen to me. I'm not
Hmm.
probably likely to say that internally. I'm just going to feel like we're not on the same page. And I'm smiling at you and I like you and I wanted to work with you, but I'm not feeling it. And maybe I can't put my finger on it. And then all of a sudden you're shocked when you give me your proposal and I say, thanks, but no thanks. And
Right.
what happens is the designer goes back and says, well, they don't understand what luxury. They didn't know what it's going to cost. And I'm like, not, maybe I can't put my finger on it, but you weren't right because you didn't hear me. You didn't listen,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, it's listening is a key to success for this, and you have to be able to talk less and ask the questions and then listen. People like to talk about themselves. They like
Mm,
to talk about what they do and what they want, where they're going with their life, how their family operates. They truly do love to talk about it. So
yeah.
giving them the opportunity to say more about things that are important to them, and if you find out that their their best moments are the breakfast table, then you better make sure those chairs are really comfortable. And,
Yes.
because they're
Yes.
going to be sitting in those chairs around the breakfast table, having those really meaningful moments. So, really picking up on the little things about how they live their life and then speaking that language right back to them. If they're not
Mm,
brand people, then we don't speak to them about the brand names because they don't care.
right. Right.
And if, so really like taking all those little tidbits, and it's a lot of them, but
Mm.
again, it's about listening and paying attention to what your clients are saying.
And understanding, don't minimize them because somebody who's not interested in brands doesn't mean they want the least expensive thing. And it doesn't mean that they don't care about the quality. It's just that tell me about the value of the lighting fixture that you're suggesting. Tell
Hmm.
me why it's well made. Just, I don't care what the name on it is. And then I might end up picking the most expensive one with the name on it, but it's not because of that.
Right.
Right. And at
That
the
is your,
same, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say the value point is extremely important because
Yes.
to demonstrate the value, speak to the value, speak to the quality really hits home for this market. And at every price point, that doesn't really matter, but the value and the quality does. Everybody pretty much wants to know, like, how long is this going to last?
Right. Am I just paying for a name? Even the people who want names want the things that go, they still want quality just because a name also makes them feel satisfied, right?
Right. Yeah. So being able to speak to the value, and that goes a long way down the line with selling luxury and, raising your fees. When you raise your fees, you create more value. Raise your
Mm,
fees, create more value. And you do kind of this ladder
mm,
of raising your fees and creating more value, and that's part of the sales process. Like, yeah, I charge more than Susie down the street, but here's why. We're a full service high touch firm. we provide XYZ, and you kind of go through and it helps you sell because
Mhm.
you're explaining the value
Yeah,
and
yeah.
why it's different.
All, like I do sales trainings a lot in the window covering industry, particularly. And, we'll do it for the team. I do it the fourth Thursday of every month for exciting Windows members. It's like, the LuAnn sales training, Zoom. And, the thing about the sales training is, and this whole conversation is, I'm always saying, you gotta, like you said, talk in the beginning,
Hmm.
asking a lot of questions, doing 90%, 80% of the listening. And what I'm saying with that, if the listening is, and put the nuggets in your back pocket, right? Put them in. So
Yes.
if somebody is consistently saying, well, for me, it's not about, I want whatever, 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 then you got to bring that back out when it's your time to talk and present your design proposal and close the deal. Now,
Yes.
we didn't ask 16,000 questions and listen intently just to leave all that information down the block. It's like, now this is our cheat sheet to the
Exactly.
connection, right, Trace?
Yeah, use the language.
Mm-hmm.
Pare it back what you're hearing from them. It's such an important part of communication. Our jobs are these creative translators. We're taking all this information that they're spitting out at us, and we have to like turn it around in our format and present it back to them in a language that they get.
Yes.
And every client is different. So that's why you have to narrow in so hard on every client. It's like, who's, full-time job being the psychologist for each project and figuring out where these people are coming from to really understand how they make their buying decisions. Because that at the end of the day, we need to understand what they want design wise, but we also need to understand what motivates them to make buying decisions.
That's right. That's key right there. What
Yeah.
motivates it? And that's what you're picking up all along the
Hmm.
way and all the times that you're listening, is because you're finding what is the thing that will move them from no to maybe to yes. It's like,
Yes.
what gets them there? And every person has to feel like they're in safe hands. And when you throw back to me what you've been hearing from me, and I hear
Hmm.
in you, I'm not looking for you to repeat my words. This is
Right.
subconscious, right? I just like, my God, she gets me. She understands us. She knows what we want. She knows what kind of design we want. She understands. You don't say to yourself, she understands our money buying decisions. You
Right.
don't say that. You just intuit it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, like one of the second points we talk about in our class is earning trust.
Hmm.
And you can't sell if you haven't earned trust. Now, the problem is it's earning trust. And the problem is that doesn't happen really fast, right? So, trust takes time. It's a relationship, it's something that grows over time. And one of the things that I preach, teach, and practice in my design business is we talk about it all the time to the clients. We constantly are asking for trust, mentioning trust, thanking our clients for trust. We do weekly project updates, and at the end of every project update, it's like, thank you for your trust in our process. Like, we're constantly telling them to trust us. And it's a start, it doesn't make them automatically trust us, but talking about the importance of it, continuing to mention it, and then practice great communication to show them that you're listening, you're understanding, you're parroting back things that they're asking that they need, all will start to build that trust
I love
slowly. But
that. My Doma Studio is your complete designer toolkit. You know this, right? My Doma makes it easy to streamline your processes, track your projects, communicate with clients, and just get organized. It is created by designers for designers, specifically to address what you need as a design business owner. My Doma is now together with Studio Designer, and they are the industry leading solution. With 20,000 plus users, more designers choose their platform than any other. Are you ready to reach the next level of profitability and efficiency? Book a demo with My Doma Studio today by going to mydomastudio.com/LuAnn. That's mydomastudio.com/LuAnn.
surely.
And so here's the thing. What I know is, I know that we teach people what to think about us. I know that.
Yes.
Right? I've taught all of you that I'm an exceptional salesperson, evidenced by we've
Exactly.
met 3 times, and that's what you said to me when we started. "Nobody's a better salesperson than you, Lou." Well, you've never seen me sell, Trace. You don't actually know that, but I've taught you guys that, right?
Yes.
So here's the thing about this. I know that you can just say a thing and
Mhm.
teach somebody to think it about you, but the real power and transformation is if the thing is true, right?
Exactly.
So, like, if I was out here for 9 years saying, "Hey, I'm an amazing salesperson," but then we got into an interaction, about sponsorship or speaking, then you'd be like, "You're not so good at this." Then I'm like,
Yes.
and what's so funny is anytime I get into those kinds of conversations, they're like, "Oh, you actually are running, like, oh, yeah, you really do what you say. You are not going to devalue. You're not going to just discount yourself." I'm like, "No, sir, no, ma'am. I'm just not going to you can have it. You can not have it, but I'm over
Mhm.
here with the good stuff. I believe in
Yeah.
my good stuff. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I want you to have my good stuff, right?"
I love that.
So,
I mean,
right?
and we've all met the super confident people who will tell you how great they are and all these things they can do, and then the follow through is never there,
Smoke and mirrors,
So
right.
we've
Yeah.
all met them, we've all bought the story like, "Oh my god, they're amazing and this is going to be great." And then you're like, "What the hell?"
Right, right.
It's not, but it just goes to that point. You talk about it, you are great, say you're great, give them all the good stuff,
Yeah.
continually talk about trust, continually talk about the importance of it in the process, that you're their partner, and it does, to your point exactly, it does start to build that
Yeah, I love it because we're going to make an assumption that 98% of the designers are trustworthy. Like,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I've met 1,400 of you by an interview and another how many
Yes.
thousands in real life. Like, designers are good humans. They come to it with
Right.
a passion and a belief and a purpose that their role is to enhance the life of the client. So my thing is what I love about what you're saying is that you are probably the 98% that are trustworthy. And your
Right.
point, Trace, is just speak about it. Let the person understand. And it's funny because, like, at Window Works, all the years that I was selling, I consistently spoke about my appreciation to every consumer that we did,
Hmm.
that they picked us. I appreciate you
Yes.
picked us. I know there's
Yes.
4 or 5 others in town. I appreciate, and I would talk, like you said, I would talk, oh, even when making the first phone call, they're coming in, I think I'm interested in window treatments. And I would hang up the phone. I'd say, "I appreciate that you're, calling us into your home. I can't wait to meet you on Friday." And I would
Exactly.
use a term, appreciate, I value, I don't take it lightly. So by the time I'm like, "Can you give me some money?" You're like, "This lady's
Sure.
amazing. She
Sure.
appreciates us. I feel great. She thinks I'm great." Right? But you actually have to be trustworthy to say it, or you actually have to have that acknowledgement and that appreciation.
Yes.
You can't just, I know as a salesperson, you can get so far by just being
Hmm.
convincing, but it's
Yes.
never going to take you across the finish line. And
It's
that's where
not.
we go into lemon car salesman, right? Like,
Yes, and
yeah.
I mean, in my experience, I think that a lot goes sideways with communication problems,
Mm,
and, really working hard on communication will solve a lot of problems.
yeah.
And in part of our weekly updates that we do in my design business is, here's what we did last week, here's what we're doing this week. We, value your trust in our process. Thank you for your partnership. We say these words every single week,
Yeah. I love it.
and it really goes a long way. But they know what we did and what we're going to do
Yeah.
every Monday. And it helps them to know, like, they don't have to chase us, they don't have to think about it. It helps them trust us that we're moving forward and doing what we say we're going to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're all little tidbits of building. So you have to do, you have to communicate and you have to talk about trust. You have to, show authority and credibility and expertise in your business. There's a long list of things that we have to do to keep it going, but
Yes.
consistency is key.
Yes. I mean, it's so powerful. What you're saying is, when you're ending, so many designers do the weekly email roundup, right? But this powerful addition of thank you, we trust that you trust, we appreciate that you trust in our process, whatever the
Yes.
line was. The thing about that line is that I love is, there's a moment over the weekend that the couple is like, one is pissy that, the stove didn't come in yet or the painter
Yes.
didn't show up. And if you have gotten an email for 3 weeks or 3 months in a row that it ends with, and we just, love that you trust in our process. We thank you for that. Like, literally, what's going to happen. The one partner is going to say to the other one, we just have to trust in the process. There's no reason not to. I know it's
Yeah.
going to happen because
Yeah.
you've taught them that that's the highest level thing that we're going about here. We're not counting
Yes.
mistakes. We're not counting, delays in deliveries. We're counting where money is paying for someone who is leading this project, and we believe that they can do it because subconsciously I've been taught that I
We've
can
been
trust
told.
it.
Yeah. And the actual line that we say is, we value your partnership and we treasure your trust in our process.
Wow.
So that's the line that ends every single weekly email. And it
Wow.
is powerful because, one, we have to have a partnership, and two, we have to have trust.
Yeah.
So it's, I speak about it early on in the sales process, and then every week they hopefully read it.
That's right. No, they are. It's coming through. You know what I mean? It's like by
Yeah.
the fourth or fifth time, it's like they could probably say it to themselves. I love that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you were saying, like, so the first thing is, what is luxury to your client? You said the
Mhm.
second part of it was earning the trust. Is it there 2 steps, 5 steps? How does your or is it you just happen to say first and second? I don't even
For
know.
yeah, the trust part.
No, for the psychology of luxury selling. It was like, well, the
Oh,
first part is
yeah,
understanding what luxury is.
there's a few, but money talk obviously is something that
Oh,
we should talk about because, key to success here.
yes.
So obviously it in any market, but in the luxury market, money talk super important. Everybody needs to know what's happening. What are your fees? What's included? What's going on? What's their intended investment? What are their expectations? We need to talk about money very openly and clearly. We need to take the emotion out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've heard the saying, pass the salt.
Oh, yeah. Terry Taylor, lover.
Yeah.
Yep.
So pass the salt. That's how we have to talk about money.
Yep.
Let's make sure we're all really, really clear on this. The one thing that I've learned over the years in our luxury market is we are always asking what your intended investment is. And obviously we like to speak about investment versus budget because this isn't a long-term investment.
Mm-hmm.
But we always ask our client if they're willing to consider items outside of their intended investment.
Love it.
And that line really tells us a lot of good information about the design process. So this gives us an opportunity to wow them and not piss them off.
Yeah.
So we're giving them an opportunity to tell us, oh, well, yeah, we want to spend this much. But yeah, if you have something like really, really cool, we'd like to see
I
it.
want to know. Don't not
Yes,
tell me.
exactly. And it also tells us a little bit about their flexibility.
Right. Yeah,
So, which
because
is really
nobody's going to
important.
sit down and go, I have 150K to spend. They're going to, if they have 300 to spend, they're going to tell you they have 200 to spend. Like, that's
Yes.
just, I mean, come on, we got to expect that from the beginning, right? Because nobody wants you to come in at 299. Like, and if I have 300 to spend and I tell you I have 200 to spend, that's
Mhm.
exactly what I want. I want
Right.
the power. I love that you said it. It's like the opportunity to delight them as opposed to pissing them off. That's
Right.
exactly that spin on that. I don't feel I might end up with the exact same room, but one point of view getting me there is like, well, yeah, this looks beautiful, but it was $80,000 more than I told her we wanted to go. But I mean, yeah,
Right.
we had it. I mean, but it looks beautiful. Versus, how fabulous is this? There's no conversation with the friends and the neighbors that I'm over investment level because I knew it was fake to begin with. You know what I'm saying?
Fake news. Fake news.
And sometimes somebody will. I'm not saying, listen, if you're an unexperienced salesperson, you can't just blanket assume everybody is not being forthcoming about their investment
Right.
level. Some people are. But again,
Exactly.
to your point, we both know you're going to discover that in all those questions in the beginning. Is this an exacting person? If they say 2:12, you better be there at 2:10 because you're already 2
Yes.
minutes late. Like, there's 15 different ways to gather how serious they are about the number and if there's flexibility on it, right? And especially if you're
Exactly.
asking this question in the beginning, you know what I mean? Are you willing to consider items beyond your investment range? Hard no, or maybe, or hell yeah, right?
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
mean, I've had enough clients over the years to understand where I've done things exactly in budget. And they're like, well, is there anything like you could do more out here? And I'm like, well, duh, of course I could. I just didn't want to piss you off, so I didn't
I
do
was
it. But,
born able to do more. Come on.
so it's really great because it's like, yeah, here's this great design within your intended investment. We love it. However,
Right.
here is something we would just love to share with you that's possible. And it gets them really excited. It also helps them to understand that you love their project too.
Yeah.
That you're like, oh my gosh, oh yeah, they really went the extra mile and brought this special thing to me. So
Yeah.
it does create a lot of excitement too within the
Yeah.
projects.
And you know what? Somebody might say yes to a special thing out of investment range
Yeah.
on one item and no on another. I mean, that's that whole value prop. And I love this question. This is a genius question. I'm sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really, really do love it because it really does exactly what it's intended to do. Flip the script to somebody being intrigued and delighted and excited and not resentful. It's like, because
Right.
listen, we come to any professional, a designer, whoever it is, I don't care if whatever. It's You want to know what you don't know as a regular human. Like what
Yes.
inside stuff do you have? Like what kind of great sofa could you have got me that I can't get? Now, I might not be able to afford it. A yes to every one of those things. That's where I have to be a grown up and understand my own checkbook, right? But we've all had that moment when we've stepped out and just went, let's do that. Right?
Yes,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah. And it's, part of the magic of design too, and being able to create these special things for our clients. And, our pricing and budgeting strategy in designing is difficult
Mm,
because as you're pricing things and things are changing from one piece to the next or customization, it's hard to put together a very exacting budget like in the
yes.
process, and it's very time consuming. So, understanding early on from that question that you do have some wiggle room
Yes.
does actually make the process more efficient
Yes. 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 You're right.
along the way because it's exhausting pricing, and it's very time consuming. So, I love that it creates those magic moments, but I also love that it alleviates some pressure within the pricing to just kind of, that you have a little wiggle room.
Yeah, there's a practical value as
Hmm.
for your flow process to having the yes or no to that question,
Yeah.
right? There's a
Yeah.
practical translation in what you're going to physically do. I mean, and obviously, I don't think we need to say it, but you can't push the envelope on every item. You can't just
Right.
blow the
No.
budget out of the park. But I can see, the complexity of, well, with this sofa, with this rug, with this lamp, with this table, okay, that now all of a sudden that darn rug isn't available, but here's one that works, but it's 4K more. Okay, this is a place where I'm going to say, how about this beautiful one of a kind, never saw it ever, nobody's got it but you rug.
Yes. And I always like for those special moments to find the things that you've learned along the way, the tidbits of like what
Smart.
is the most important to them? What room is the most important? What piece do they love? Or, something that speaks to what they love and what their interests are.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, yes, love it. That and
kind of
that's those
go down that
breadcrumbs
road.
that you're picking up all along
Breadcrumbs.
the way. Yep,
Yeah,
yep, 100%. So now
exactly.
I think there's a ton of valuable advice in here. I'm sure the course is outstanding. My question is, um, where do you find look, what I know, Trace, is that, you have me at hello on this. I've lived this, I've experienced it. I know that it works. I
Yeah,
know that when you practice it and you really hone your information and your skills and your expertise, all of this gels and it does work. And it's not only works, but it saves you so much. Like the thing that I cry about is when a designer will spend hours and hours and hours on a proposal that person was never going to do it. They were never going to
exactly.
do it. Like when sometimes in my one-on-one coaching, I'm like, no, 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 no. There's a 15% chance that this is going to be this is going to happen here. So
Right.
let's put let's put 25% effort into getting it. We'll put more effort in than we think, but we're going to spend 110 over here for this person that gave us these breadcrumbs that we know this is our person, right?
Yes.
So the thing is, though, when you're not as experienced and you haven't
Mhm.
experienced the magic of doing this the right way, there's a lot of pushback, a lot of disbelief that this is valuable to do. So when
Yeah.
you experience that, when you're teaching into your designers, what are the things that you hear in your head like, yeah, this is what the pushback is? So somebody listening, what are they saying? I don't know, Trace, like I just saying this, right? Because because we got to get that person. We can't just say it works. We have to give them some tool to get them over.
Yes. I mean, the tricky thing about the study of psychology, which was, my first life, is that, was we talked about in the beginning, it's really learning about, how people think, feel, and behave. There is no, structured roadmap for that in terms of like, okay, here's the template of how everybody thinks, feels, and behaves. So we need, as designers and as salespeople, a set of tools and information and education to work through the process. We also need patience. So we do. I mean, not something that I have a lot of, but I've learned over the years, like to your point, you have to start at the beginning and really understand, like, are these my people?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody calls my firm and I know that they're like, can you send me a proposal for this? Da, 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 da. I'm like, are you shopping designers based on price? I'm
Yeah,
not your person.
right.
Like, no thanks, not doing it. Um, so really being able to understand to ask the right questions at the very beginning on like discovery calls, and then more in-depth questions as you go through the process to make sure you're connecting with the right people and your jobs are as successful as they can be. So it really is just like a whole toolbox set of things to think about and process and incorporate into your questionnaire, into your discovery calls, into your design process, and it will really help you to elevate your projects, get better projects that suit your business model, and then happier clients at the end.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because when you were saying, like, if somebody's like coming into email or discovery, whatever, and they're just like, and you said it, oh, are you comparing designers based on price? I'm not your person, right? And it's so funny because I was just I have very few responsibilities left at WindowWorks at this point, but one of them is that I do go to the sales meetings, and I do a lot of still mentoring and coaching with the sales team. And legit yesterday, I was just like, guys, I saw an email come through from an interior designer that we don't know. Now, I don't know if they're from the podcast. I don't know if they're a referral from another designer that we're working with. And that was very well organized email. And this is the thing. This is the thing. My sales team fell for this. And I was like, Kimberly probably wouldn't have fell for it, but she's on maternity leave. But like, here comes, hi, blah, blah, blah. We are so and so. We have a project in your area. We understand, that you work with designers, yada, yada. And then here comes this very organized, we're looking for 3 Roman shades in this area. We're looking for a pair of drapes in this area, blah, blah, blah. And I'm seeing an email go back with quotes. And I'm like, what? No, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. And what I said to them was, you literally just reduced what we do to a commodity sale. You
Yeah.
literally took custom high-end luxury window treatments and you made it so that the only thing that they can compare whether they will select WindowWorks or not is the price of the damn Roman shade. Like,
Yeah.
no. I'm like,
That's not who you are. Yeah.
this is not what we do. Like, and they're like looking at me like, well, what should we do? I'm like, you should pick up the phone. Like, like there is a signature in that email and you pick up the phone. And I've done that 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody comes in, highly organized, thinks that they're just going to like throw this out for bid. And here's the things that happen. Number one, it's truly an intended thing. And they truly intend to want to work with window work,
Right. Right.
but we are still starting it on the commodity foot
Sure.
with no inherent value other than the delivery of the product. But secondly, I've also had times where like, oh, we just need to give another price to the project manager, blah, blah, blah. So we're just like, oh, okay, let me just price 45 window treatments so that I can just be your other price. Stop right there.
Exactly. No,
Right.
thank you.
No. Right. And so, but the thing is, I've picked up the phone and I've had designers be like, well, I mean, I gave you all the information. And I'm like, no. I know that. I got the facts. I'm curious, how did you hear about us? Why
Right.
did you decide to call us? Oh, and now I tell my sales team, oh, maybe they came from the podcast. Oh, so you listen to that lunatic, do you? Okay. Now you start a conversation. You know what I mean? Like, or I was referred by Campbell Minister. Great. You know Campbell. We've been doing our work for 9 years. Oh, love Campbell. Are you in Montclair too? Like, there's 16 ways. Get
Sure.
it out of a transaction and get it started in a relationship. And so my point is that if somebody comes into your email like that and you're like, hey, are you just trying to compare us on price? I'm not your designer. You don't, because Trace, we have unseasoned business and salespeople listening. Somebody might be like,
Sure.
oh, LuAnn and Tracee said, just say, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in your project. It's like, no. We might find out that they're the wrong project. Like I have found
Right.
out people are just trying to like check a column. I got a third price. But with the human conversation,
Mhm.
that person might just think they're being efficient and giving you the information, but they're also wanting expertise and relationship. We got to be the human first to find out, right?
That is such a great point because this makes me laugh. I worked in high school at a call center and a national call center. And I could tell from hello
What training that
where
must
the
have been.
people were from,
Yeah.
what part of the country. I was like, oh, New York. Oh, Midwest. Oh, California. Like I knew
Wow.
immediately from hello because the New York people, I mean, super stereotypical here, but New York people were like, hello, I
Hey,
need
yeah,
blah,
I
blah,
got
blah,
it
blah, blah,
over
blah.
there. Yeah, hi, I got to have this. What are you doing? Are you
Southern
just
people
ready
were
to
like,
prey on
hello,
me?
yeah, Southern people were like, hello, darling, how you doing today? How's the weather? What's going on? And both of those people wanted the exact same thing. But they have a very different approach just because of their lifestyle, their geographical area in the country, of how they work and operate. So that's why you have to have the conversations. You have to be able to get through the message because some people, if they're really busy professionals, they're going to speak fast. They want
Right,
answers. They're going to be like, here's the facts, tell me more. And the people that are just, have a little bit more time or a little bit more relaxed are going to have a slower conversation, but they're both looking for the same thing. So it's
right.
just like diving into that.
Yeah. No, I like my thing is I'm the first one that is okay with saying no if it's not
Hmm.
the right client, but
Yep.
it's never a knee jerk reaction. Like
Right.
you have to have a conversation because
Hmm.
to your point, Southern people are going to come a different way than Northeastern people, than California, but it doesn't mean just the way we handle the way we come into your inbox means we're not serious. It just is the
Right.
way we do things. Here I
Right.
am. Here's the 40 shades I need. Give me a price. Okay, sweetie. Breaks. Breaks.
Again, understanding how people think, feel, and behave. Very
Yeah.
complicated.
Yeah. But I just was I was very disappointed to see that interaction. I was just like, I'm sorry, my
Yeah.
friends. I expect
Yeah.
so much more of
We
you at
can
this
do
point.
better. We can
you know
do better.
And the thing is, like, look, for window treatment people, our team, they're they're gonna they're gonna each handle a minimum of 5 appointments a week, if not 10 to 15
Wow.
appointments a week per person. Okay. So a slow week is 1 appointment a day, or no appointment one day and two the next, blah, blah, blah. And, when we're in season, they could be doing 2 or 3 appointments a day. And we are then
Wow.
constantly saying, block time out. Block time out. And we're like, okay, you've got office time on Tuesday. You've got office time on Wednesday. We don't, you're not all sitting here looking at, 4 sets of eyeballs on Friday and nobody can go out on an appointment. Right. Um, but we're always counseling them and helping them to manage their time to make sure they get the back end work done. But the idea is that I know that it comes from, well, all the information is there. Let me just let me keep it rolling, you know.
Right.
But that's where my conversation in the sales meeting really centered on luxury. And I
Mhm.
said, listen to me. We are not selling widgets. We are
Right.
not like, hey, I need an estimate for 40,000 screws and 16,000 washers, and let me get you a price. And if you want to do it, you do it. And if you don't, you don't. No, this is like, I love your word, high touch. I'm like,
Mhm.
this is a personal situation here. This is a relationship sale. This is not a commodity transaction. And if you
Exactly.
just answer that email and give a price, you are dead in the water. You are dead in the water.
Right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. It's
Yeah.
so hard to do that in what we do. And, we're most of our work or all of our work is personal. There
Yeah.
are emotions involved, and you have to have conversations and you have to get to know your clients. You
Yeah.
have to understand if this is somebody you can work with. I mean, our projects can be 2, 3 years long. It's a long time.
Absolutely. Absolutely, right? And the thing is too, it's funny because I've also had situations where we get an inquiry like that, and when I do pick up the phone and make the phone call, blah blah blah, and now maybe the designer is like, I need all this, done in a month. And I'm like, okay, sweetie, well, let's talk about that, because that's not going to happen, right?
Right.
Do I want to price 40 window treatments and then have her say, great, I need it all in a month, here's your money? No, no,
Right.
no. you
Yeah.
know no. So if we can get by that 1 month thing, if you've got some wiggle room, but if you don't, I want to know before I spend all that time, energy, and money
Right.
doing that, right?
We
So,
have to
and
understand it.
yeah, and you know what? And you can salvage that a lot of times. I can't be your answer this time, but I can be your answer next time when you have more
Yes.
time, because we've had a conversation and now you like me, right?
Exactly. Or you're the first call, and then after they've made 3 calls, and they're like,
Nobody can
"Oh,
do it.
okay. Oh, I get it. It's not just a you thing."
Right, right. So, now I mean, did we leave anything out on this conversation in this area that you want to make sure that we touch on?
There's a whole checklist, and we do have a download for your listeners
Oh,
that will
good.
just has a little cheat sheet for the psychology of selling luxury that will kind of run through. But, really covering money talk, trust, listening, understanding lifestyle, anticipating needs, customization. My favorite is like, it's all about them. Like, let's
Mm,
just remember from the beginning through to the end, it's all about them.
yeah.
And, I think that's helpful and gives you a lot of good insight and more breadcrumbs to kind of follow to make the process successful.
It's funny because I was about to let you go, but I'm going to pick that one apart there. So
Okay.
that it's all about them, because I find, and my guess is that you probably encounter it as well, that I think this is a stick point for interior designers in the early part of their trajectory in mastering this whole conversation about luxury selling.
Yeah.
And what I find is that as humans, designers are, I did not label designers as, they have come to me and labeled it as people pleasers, right? Right?
Oh,
It's
yes.
right. Like I think it's like nurses and teachers. There's just this innate caring, that doesn't exist in the rest of us, right? Like,
Yes.
you know, and so what happens is in my experience, when we talk about with designers that are just starting to pick up this nuance of this
Hmm.
sales conversation and this process of working through this luxury process and expressing your value and blah blah blah, is designers are already inclined to want to make you happy,
Hmm.
to make people happy, and to serve them. And
Hmm.
then you add that we advocate, it's the luxury sale is all about the person. What I find is I'm constantly with my one-on-one clients going, no, 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 no. There's boundaries though. So
Yes.
it is all about them, but it's all about them with clarity. And what happens is I find the lesser experience, you take this to heart. You take your innate personality, you add to the advocation by the rest of us that luxury is about them. And the next thing you know, they're saying yes to everything. And then all
Hmm.
of a sudden, they're not appreciated. They're like,
Hmm.
no, my client doesn't get me. They don't appreciate me. That's the last thing that, they've asked me for 16,000 things. And why do they want 16,001? And there is the nuance, Trace, and I know you're seasoned enough to know the difference, right?
Hmm.
It's like it is all about them,
It
but it's
is.
all
Yeah.
about them with a boundary around
With
the
boundaries.
process, right?
Yes.
And not the boundary isn't. Here's what the boundary isn't. The boundary isn't, I said yes the last 42 times and now I'm pissed
Right.
at you.
Yeah.
That's not a boundary. That's a
It
crazy
is.
lunatic.
It's about professionalism and boundaries. And I think most people, that are engaging in the business, understanding that, a correlation between a doctor's office, an attorney's office, a retail store, we're a business. We have policies, we have guidelines, we have processes, and most importantly, you as a designer have experience. And you need to be able to say, we want this to be unique and special and all about you. And my professionalism is going to tell you how that works.
Right.
And it might not work how you want it to work, but the end result is going to be exactly what you want.
Right. Right.
So that is the really important clarification, and often a hard lesson for young designers to
Yeah.
learn.
I got to tell you what, I have, since I've been doing chairman of the board for 5 years, if I ever clocked the number of hours, minutes stacked upon minutes that I've had conversations with my chairman of board about this nuance right in here. It's everything they need, everything they want. You are the person to do it. However, this is the lane that we do it in.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that it's the knee jerk for both. I have to give. And then when all of a sudden they feel exhausted and tired and feel overwhelmed and underappreciated, now the boundary comes out, but it's an arbitrary boundary. And it's
Right.
the same thing. We've been telling them it's all about the client, give. And then we've been telling them having boundaries, but neither are done in a plan, in a process. It's just like,
Mm-hmm.
what I say to them a lot of times is, it's like your kid, like I watch my grandchildren constantly, right?
Yeah.
So, it's, can we watch TV, mom? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is no, but it's never yes, then okay, maybe, because you asked me
Right.
15 times. It's
Exactly.
either yes or no, but I'm not going to have an argue about, like, it's no. It's not, we're not doing TV now. I want to be, but I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate that you want to see Blippi again, but like,
Yes,
it's
but no.
not now, because in 15 minutes we got to get the bus.
Yeah, and just like children, clients will learn and understand that you are not a yes person.
Right.
You're making it unique and special and all about them, but you're not people pleasing and just agreeing.
That's right. There's a
You're
reason for
saying
the yeses. There's a reason for 15 yeses in a
yes.
row, and there's a reason for the 16th no, right?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And ultimately, this clientele will respect you for saying no
100%.
because you have a policy, a process, experience, procedure. It's not random.
Right.
They get it and they
Right.
respect it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a tough lesson to understand. And I think it does come with experience and success with it. Because there are times, what's so funny is there are times when I'm working with a designer for many weeks and months, and we're all talking about how to set up the parameters and how to set up the expectation and the deliverables and how to display them and how to talk about them and offer them. And then all of a sudden they'll be like, you're not going to believe what my client wanted me to do. And now I can hear by the message, they totally are thinking I'm going to be like, absolutely not. I'm like, I got to tell you, sweetie, I think this is one we got to do. And I'm like, wait, what? And I'm just like, and that's why I think that it does take mentorship. I do think
Mhm,
it takes coaching. I do think it takes experience, earned
mhm.
experience, falling down, breaking your nose and getting back up again, because it is very difficult to say, this is exactly every time you should say yes, and this is exactly every time you should say no. It's way more nuanced than that,
Oh,
right?
yeah. I had no idea that my psychology background would come in so handy in this business, but it sure did.
Yeah.
And it is really the reason we started Designer Launch is because I do want to share and help and mentor and, share all of this hard-earned knowledge over, the last 25 years of my career. So
I love
it's,
it.
all the tidbits help.
So, right, that's a good segue. Before we end the conversation, tell us a little bit about Designer Launch, Trace.
Of course. So Designer Launch, we just launched last year. So it's an educational platform for interior designers to earn CEU credits. We have a whole psychology bundle of classes, which is really fantastic. It's my passion and what I love to talk about most in the psychology behind design. So much there to dive into, including a whole class on boundaries coming out, and then we kind of just have like a basic business bundle, and that one is just about like just getting started, like
Okay.
setting up systems and processes and things like that, but
And these are online. You buy them and do
online.
them at your own pace. Right.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Exactly. So,
Okay. All right. So
yeah.
there's no like window, we have to get in now or this and that. It's just, it's all available to us. We can go peruse all the different courses. I've looked through them. The titles
Exactly.
look amazing, you know.
Yes, and we keep adding courses. We're just continuing to add a whole psychology track that's going to be continuing to come this year. And I'll be at High Point speaking. So if anybody's going, come see me. But yeah, I'm really excited about it. Just excited. The mentorship part is what I'm really excited about. Just really
Love it.
excited to talk to you and other people and, just help to clarify what we do and how we do it and make it better.
Love it. I love it. I mean, it's so valuable and it is a tough topic if you're new to it, and
Yeah.
it's a tough topic if you resist it and think I'm
Yes.
not a salesperson, I don't need to know this stuff. It's like,
Well,
okay.
good luck.
I don't know what to tell you. You're gonna have a tough road there.
I know, right?
Right? And by the way, you don't have to make it your life's passion to study everything about sales.
Right.
You need to it's to me, it's look, if the only thing you ever did as a salesperson was stop talking and listen, you're gonna be way ahead of the game.
Oh my gosh,
That's the only thing you do, right?
see, LuAnn, you are the queen. That's exactly it. So we
Uh,
do have the little cheat sheet mini class for your listeners too. So just on
love
this
it.
topic.
Yep, and we will put that in the show notes, and if there's
Great.
a link, I'll probably say it in the outro or whatever, but, thank you
Perfect.
so much, Trace, for being here.
Thank
This is
you,
a fun
LuAnn.
conversation. I
It
appreciate
was.
it.
It was really great. Thank you.
You know, understanding the psychology behind why clients buy, especially at the luxury level, is a game changer. And I love that Tracee has taken some of the best sales practices and defined them from a psychology standpoint. A few things that stood out to me that I want to talk about include the first one is something that has come up before that I want to make sure you're clear on. Design is a luxury service, period. End of sentence. I don't care if you design bathrooms or nurseries, or if you're a full service designer for construction, if you do paint consultations, it doesn't matter. Design is luxury. So if you are shying away from thinking about yourself as a luxury designer, you need to rethink it. Okay? Luxury doesn't kick in at a specific price point. Now, there are levels of luxury. I won't debate that with you, that's for sure. But at its most basic level, design itself is luxury. You are coming in, you're recreating the space that your clients live in with a big picture vision. You're not shopping for furniture. This is such an important mindset that goes back to charging what you are worth, saying no to the wrong projects, and the way you communicate with clients. If you know that you are providing a luxury service, it changes the way you show up and the way you convey what you do. It also firmly and really just, it's the key to firmly establishing the way you stand in your prices and the way you lead your projects, right? If you don't yourself believe deep down that you are more than a personal shopper, then you, my friend, are the one turning yourself into a commodity. So I would say if this is a struggle for you, this little thing in your mind, go back and listen to some of the episodes that we've had on this topic. Number 842 with Joshua Smith, number 409 with Candy Scott and Rachel Cannon both come to mind. So if you feel that, you don't say it out loud, but in the heart of hearts, like what I do is pick out furniture, instead of at your heart of hearts, you lead with I create vision and I create solutions, then I want you to listen to those episodes. And if you want to lean into this creating creativity, and that's the heart of who and what you are, then also listen to Darrell Long's episode, The Best Design Comes From Within, Not Pinterest. And that's episode 587. All right. And then tag that one with Vicente's Wolf's episode on artistry at 971. Okay. These are conversations with people who do what you do, that have been through this reflection, this inflection point of really stepping across the chasm of I pick furniture, I pick paint, I select finishes, to I create interiors. Okay? Because the thing is, if and until you really believe in the luxury service that you are offering, you're never going to get your client to see it. Okay? Now, what's interesting is the nuance that Tracee pointed out, that carries the luxury idea to a different point, right? That you really need to think about what is luxury to your client now. You see, that's that next level. That means asking and listening and paying attention to what your client says and what they don't say. All right? Because luxury is different for everybody. It's one of those words. It's one of those words that can be meaningless, right? So you have to figure out the problems that they have and the solutions that they want, and for where it is in their life. All of these factors come together into the picture. And when you can listen, truly listen, and find a way to solve those problems and bring the most important aspects to them through your design, this is an entirely different experience from proposal to final installation. And that is the heart of it, right? I don't want you to overlook the question Tracee recommends for feeling out what your client is really like. Are you willing to look out things outside of the budget if it's the right solution? Such a telling and interesting sentence. There's no confrontation about it. There's no assumptions about it. It's a simple question. It's so smart. It lets you know a lot about who you're working with and what their goals are. If they're firm in the budget, not a bad thing. But the point is getting into your client's psychology and finding out who and what they are and what it's going to be like to work with them. I also love Tracee's insight that you don't need to have decades of experience selling million-dollar projects to apply these principles. No matter where you are in your business, wherever you are, what season, the psychology of sales plays a role. And the ideas that she brought up about communication, listening, and tapping into that psychology will make a difference for you regardless of where you are right this moment. All right. If you're interested in what Tracee's talking about, she has generously offered a guide that you can download to help get into this further. And you can get that in our show notes. We will have the link there. All right. Before you go, I want to invite you to join me and an incredible lineup of experts May 6th through 8th at Design Hound Talks. It's called Business Spark Conference, a 2-day experience designed to help you reconnect with the work you love and move through the challenges you are undergoing with clarity and confidence. This event is happening live at Chicago at the Mart during their Wine and Design event. This particular event, organized by Design Hounds, is all about realignment, inspiration, and getting your mojo back. Okay. Now, I'll be there along with Jane Horan of the Horan Group, Reverend Kyle Gott, and the Design Hounds founder, Veronica Miller. And we cannot wait to see you. And because you're a part of the well-designed business community, Veronica has a special gift for you. You can get 50% off your ticket when you sign up on Eventbrite and you use the promo code AWDB50. This will also be in the show notes, this link. All right. So check out the link for Tracee Murphy. Check out the link for the Chicago event. Check out the links for the other episodes that I mentioned. If this getting from A to B in your psychology of sales mindset is still a challenge for you. All right. Thank you, Tracee, for such a terrific conversation. I really, really appreciate your insights. I loved going back and forth and having this, these thoughts with you. And thank you for showing up. I really do understand and hope, I understand this dilemma is what I'm saying, that before and after of this mindset of psychology of selling, but you can do it. I know that you can. I know you can cross over. It's really, really about valuing yourself so that no one dare not value you. All right. All right. Thank you tons for joining me today. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnNigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to WindowWorksNJ.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.